Okay, while we were moving the table in, we were also discussing some other things I should cover, and Bryce was making some notes. So what's your first note there?
You wanted to talk more about gold during
right.
the 1970s.
I remember gold was illegal to own in an investment form in the 1970s. I wanted to clarify, it was legal to own gold in the form of jewelry in the 1970s, and so a lot of people did buy it in that way, but owning coins or bars or any investment form of gold was absolutely illegal, and it was a prison offense.
Well, okay, well, do you want to go through this magnificent pile of coins?
The reason that I have all these various forms here is to point out that gold, silver, and platinum can be cast into any shape at all. And you know, there's all sorts of things that can be done with it. The very common shape that it's cast into is bars, maybe something like this. And I want to be very clear that I really do not like bars or ingots or whatever you want to call them. At this point, you know, here in July of 2009, they're okay, but when the big panic starts and there are millions of people getting into this stuff that don't know anything about it, that's when the crooks come out of the woodwork to take advantage of the people who don't know anything about it, and you get a lot of counterfeiting. And so you have to be careful when you buy now that you're buying something that is protected against counterfeiting. And the bars are very vulnerable to counterfeiting. Something you might see in a lot of places is a bar of silver, let's say, that looks something like this, or gold or platinum. And a lot of people, when they get into this, they want to run straight to a bar like this because they love the feel of it. It's so heavy, and it gives them so much confidence that they own real money, a real asset here. But what you run into is this. How do you know that the whole thing is really the precious metal? There is a practice that a lot of crooks use that's called drill and fill. And it's very simple. They'll just take a drill and they'll just drill holes in the bar and take the shavings that come out of that, and they'll sell those shavings, and then they'll fill up the bar with lead and cover those holes over. They can be very good at it. You'll never see that there were any holes in that thing. And so you've got this thing that you think is solid gold, silver, or platinum, but it has a lot of holes in it that are full of lead. And anybody who's savvy is going to say to you, well, how do I know that thing's not full of lead? And it's very difficult to determine. Now, the thing to keep in mind is that the smaller the object, the more difficult it is to drill and fill. You know, when the whole population is rushing into these things and the crooks are coming out of the woodwork, some of those crooks are going to be drilling and filling, and they're going to want big bars so they can use big drill bits, get the job done quick and move on. Well, compare that to the difficulty in drilling something that is, let's say, this size. Okay, you need a much smaller drill, or something that's even smaller. You need an even smaller drill for something like this. So the size, or I should say the lack of it, is a protection. The absolute safest thing you can own in precious metals is a U.S. silver dime that was minted before 1965. Now, you can imagine how difficult it would be to drill out a dime.
Impossible?
Well, it can be done. There are jewelers that can do amazing things. So it can be done, but compare the amount of labor that's involved in drilling that out and filling it with lead to how much profit you're actually going to make on the deal. So there's just simply no safer way to own precious metals than U.S. silver dimes minted before 1965. They are 90% silver, and they're so small that Crook is going to have to be mighty desperate to be drilling out dimes. And I, like I said, I've been doing this for 35 or 40 years. I've never heard of a dime that's been drilled and filled. I've never heard of a counterfeit dime. Okay. And then, you know, up from there, a little more convenient would be U.S. silver quarter, minted before 1965, or U.S. silver half, minted before 1965. Now, I have seen once in my life a counterfeit quarter, and it was very bad. You could tell it was counterfeit, and I've never seen a counterfeit half. So you want to think in terms of the small stuff being much safer than the big stuff.
I see.
A bar of gold, silver, or platinum like that just scares me to death. Now, right now, conditions in the markets are calm, and you can probably, if you already own bars, you can probably take them in and trade them for coins at very little cost. When things get wild, there's a lot of frenzy, and the knowledgeable investors are steering clear of the bars, then you're going to have a hard time unloading them. Which brings up another point. Is never buy any investment unless you've first thought about how you're going to sell it. So you want to buy forms of the precious metals that are going to be easy to sell.
And I guess that goes into my next question, which is, I have these coins. Now what do I do with them when the time comes, whatever that time is? How do I sell them, trade them, barter?
Pretty much probably the same way you bought them. The coin dealer that sold them to you is probably going to be willing to buy them from you. And so, you know, keep his name and phone number and address and all of that, and he'll be the first person you'll want to go to when you're ready to sell.
I see.
But shop around. Somebody might give you a better deal. Check all sorts of coin dealers. And I should point out, for those of you who aren't familiar with the way the coin industry works, it's kind of a miniature version of stockbrokers. There are all the coin, not all of them, you know, thousands of coin dealers are connected electronically. They have an electronic bid and ask system. Going in there and buying, let's say, U.S. gold eagles isn't a whole lot different than going into a stockbroker and telling him you want to buy, you know, 100 shares of IBM stock.
I see.
It works very much, you know, the economic dynamics are pretty much identical.